Hello and welcome back to the Author Roundup, a special segment of the Book Connection Show where we meet up and coming indie authors and talk to them about the recently released books. Welcome back. Again, this is Ray Walters. Today, we're opening a door into quiet rooms of fear and louder rooms of hope, the kind of hope that organizes courage into daily choices. In this episode, you'll hear how art, culture, and community can turn a diagnosis into direction, and how a single voice can make space for many. Our guest has stood where others now stand, and she's built pathways for them to walk. Please welcome the author of Flowers of Courage, My Journey Through Breast Cancer from Weakness to Power, Juliet Nkiruka Uzoma. Hi, Juliet. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
It's the pleasure is mine, actually. Very much excited to talk about the book that you have just published. But how life has been since you've gotten this book published. It's out right now.
It's been an amazing journey, and the great thing about it is that I've been able to connect with so many women, so many families, so to say, with my story and just getting to a little insight of who I am. So it's been an amazing journey so far.
It is quite an inspiring book. So for
Thank you.
context, our discussion is going to be about Juliet's book, Flowers of Courage, My Journey Through Breast Cancer from Weakness to Power. Now, this is a candid, hope-forward memoir tracing a Nigerian-born, US-based mother and artist's life across family roots, loss, migration, creativity, marriage, and centrally, our guest's breast cancer diagnosis and recovery. So it shows how identity, culture, and faith fueled resilience turn private pain into public advocacy for women, especially in Africa, facing cancer and health disparities. Now, the narrative moves from weakness to power, pairing intimate scenes with a call to amplify unheard voices and to thrive, not just to survive. So there's a line in this inspiring book that reads, "Surviving is not the end, thriving is the beginning." How inspiring this book is, Juliet. Um, so I want to go ahead and ask you the first question. Uh, let's look into the origin and intent. Why the story now? Obviously, without giving away too much spoilers. So, what first moved you to turn this deeply personal journey into a book?
Whew. What first moved me to turn this into a book is Um, at first, I felt a deep conviction that my story wasn't just mine.
Mm,
Um, it belonged to every woman or everybody going through this. Um, does ever faced fear, silence,
yeah.
and the stigma around cancer as a
Mm,
whole. And being an African woman writing Flowers of Courage was both, I want to say, it was healing.
mm.
It was like, a great healing process for me. And I felt it was great for me to use my voice and to give voice to the voiceless, if that makes any sense.
Yes, of course. Let's unpack the book's core promise and theme uh, in your terms. So, the subtitle, it reads "From Weakness to Power." How do you define each of those words in your own experience?
Weakness was a moment I felt that I had lost control
Mm,
physically. mentally and spiritually, right? Um, Power was at the moment when I realized that my survival was not just about enduring,
Mm-hmm.
but about thriving
Mm-hmm.
and um, choosing faith over fear
Mm-hmm.
and being able to confront the pain. That was it for me.
All right. Let's connect your pre-diagnosis life to the strength that surfaces in the moment of crisis. Which formative experiences from your early life most shaped your resilience later on?
What shaped my resilience? Well, first of all, I would say my culture, being a Nigerian. And then I would also equate it to, you know, my background. My parents raised us to basically learn to look fear in the eye
Mm,
and be able to conquer it or address it, you know,
mm,
whichever format that feels. But I think it all comes from my growth, my background, and my family orientation.
okay. All right. L- Uh, let's talk about practical courage and because this is useful to our listeners and viewers. Um, Many readers carry private fears, and since we've already mentioned fear, um, we all know many readers, our viewers, our listeners carry private fears about screening, stigma, or speaking up. So, what helped you break silence and ask for help?
It's funny because, at first, I want to say I was very hesitant, just like any other woman or any other person that's been diagnosed with this. But then you have to also realize, or I realized that silence isolates,
Right.
right? And speaking up opens up to healing. And I remember, being diagnosed. My family, my mother was very hush about it due to the
Mm,
culture.
mm,
But I figured that there were a lot of women and men going through what I was going through. And I think people needed my story to basically be able to break through that stigma, especially being an African person. So I felt the need to speak up, use my voice.
right. And you're right. I agree. When you silence actually isolates, and in
Yes.
moments like when you're confronted with the diagnosis or whatever it is that you're going through, it is but better for you to actually speak up and talk to people, perhaps. And in your case, writing has been healing for you, so that's a good thing.
Mhm.
Um, uh, Looking back at the moment of diagnosis, what
Okay.
perspective would you share with someone who is hearing hard news today? It's not easy, right? Like if you go through the test and you're waiting for the results, and some of us would read the test results on our own, but if I'm putting myself in your shoe, I would rather not, because it requires medical knowledge to interpret the results, right? And so you'd have to wait for like days, set up an appointment with your doctor. So, yeah, let just give us that perspective.
Um, First of all, breathe. Okay. Um, I would always say it is not the end of your story.
Mm,
That's number one. Um, you have to allow yourself to feel the whole, the entire stages. It's important.
Mm,
I can say it now because at the time when I first heard those words,
mm,
the diagnosis, of course you get angry. You know, you question God. You're almost at the point where you want to fight God
mm,
and say, "Why? I did everything right. What did I do wrong?" But I had to. I remember coming into my quiet space, and that's like taking out the noise and just breathing through everything and
mm.
just taking it one step at a time and just letting it sink in. Basically, that was me. That was what I did. Just let it one step at a time sink in.
Right. And I agree. Going through the entire um, process or emotional stages, it's quite important. And I think being able to, you know, also understand that, well, the earlier it is that you can accept the situation, the better it is for you. And you're right. I mean, it's not the end of your story.
Yeah, and there's hope at the end of the
Yes,
day. There's hope.
definitely.
No, it was very important.
What sustained you during treatment? Um, Habits, people, support group, or small rhythms that I want the listeners that could probably be going through the same situation as you are. I want them to get something that is realistic that they can try out if they're also going through the same thing.
You know, growing up in a Christian household,
Mm,
my faith and prayers were literally my companions. Because it's like almost when that happens, you lean and hold on to that. And
mm,
for me, that was my first companion. And then just my children, those little joys, they gave me a reason to fight. Because at the time, my daughters were 3 and 1.
no,
And being a young mother, they gave me strength.
right,
Sorry, it gets emotional. It's my kids,
true,
my
of
kids.
course, of course. All right, your book
Mhm.
balances raw honesty with steady hope. Now, as a storyteller, how did you decide what to reveal and what to hold?
Um, well, I would say I asked myself, what will help someone feel less alone?
Mm,
Um, that kind of guided me to what I shared, if that makes any sense, right?
yeah.
I held back some details that were too private,
Mm,
so to say, and that could possibly add more pain to what people are going through. So for me, I felt like the goal was my honesty
mm,
that honesty that heals, and just not just storytelling, but be able to help the other person get through whatever they were going through at the moment.
okay. Juliet, you advocate for women, especially
Yeah.
across African communities, navigating disparities. What barriers show up most, and what changes actually help?
Oh, lack of access to screening, especially in the continent where I come from, Africa.
Right.
Access to screening, the cultural stigma, um, limited healthcare resources.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, there's just so much. And then, I was lucky to have been diagnosed here in the United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where, there were resources. And I had great organizations such as Nurses Affecting Change that
Right.
came to my aid, and they were there to provide the resources, the financial support. But then, you think about that woman back home in Africa that does not have those resources. So, and that's literally the first death sentence, not lack of resources, that cultural stigma, before the cancer even gets to you.
How did motherhood and family relationships shape your sense of purpose as you healed and found your voice?
Whew. How did motherhood? My children gave me a reason to fight harder.
Mm,
My family gave me that support I needed to feel like I was not invisible, alone. My, you know, um, motherhood was a purpose for me to fight.
a really good source of strength and motivation. And for some of us who are not afforded, um, you know, having a family, there's always a support group that they can visit or they can go
Yes,
to. Yeah.
yes. I
All
had
right.
support. I did have support groups too that,
Mm,
that were there and helped me understand that I wasn't alone and it was
true.
okay to speak up. So it was really a great, it's just a community of everyone
Right.
just being there for me.
Right. Um, you also built platforms beyond the page. What has storytelling done that pure information couldn't?
Uh, I would say there's something I always say, facts
Mm,
inform, stories transform.
mhm.
That makes sense.
Right.
So storytelling kind of connects everyone, connects heart to heart, connects people to the journey, to my journey specifically. And
Yeah.
through my organization, the organization, the Juliet U projects that I literally built after diagnosis, it just gave me a sense of responsibility to become, you know, the purpose and the strength that
Mm.
I wanted to create.
Right. Storytelling is a vehicle. When you're reading books, memoirs, in
Yes.
your case, we'd get to know who you are, um, and see things from your perspective, how you dealt with the diagnosis, and because it's not just the diagnosis that you're worrying about. I know it's worrisome, but you also have your children, you have your family, and it's not just a source of your strength and motivation, but you also need to think about them, um, not only their role and purpose as you go through your journey, but your impact in their lives. That's what makes it harder. Like in your case, you have kids, so um, this book being inspirational uh, gives us the opportunity to see the life of someone who's battling cancer and how it affects them at the core in how it affects the people around them. Truly inspirational. Um, Juliet, if a loved one asks, how can I show up well for someone with cancer? What do you wish more people understood?
I always tell people being in remission, being, a cancer survivor, being the patient presence matters more than just perfect words.
Yeah.
I wanted just the presence of people so I didn't feel like a statistic. Like, I'll give an example. When my doctor would come, my oncologist would come into the room and address me by my name, I felt seen. I felt alive.
Right.
And when going through the journey, my girlfriends would ask me, what can we do for you? And I said, I just want you guys to be around me.
Yeah.
Just the presence. And I said, don't talk about the cancer. Let's just live.
Yes.
Let's not exist. Let's just live life. And that meant a lot to me. It did. It
True.
meant a lot to me.
Uh, I could fully understand how important, or how important rather, presence is. Um, we don't need advices more often. Um,
Mhm.
we may not even talk a lot about it. Ergo, we don't really need somebody who listens, but it's also a good thing. But over and above those two is the
Mhm.
presence of a loved one, a
Yes.
presence of a friend, knowing that they're there already helps a lot. Whatever
Yeah.
journey, right?
Don't try to
Whatever
fix
journey
it.
we're true, true. You
Just don't
talk
try
about
to
your
fix
girlfriends,
it. Yes. I talk about them because I say, don't, it's there, it's not going like, I've been diagnosed,
right?
right? So it's there. So don't try to fix it. Just
True,
up beside me. Compassion is more powerful than advice. At that moment, that's what you need. Just be there, be present, be with me. Let's just
right,
enjoy, you know, just live life.
right. Um, uh, Juliet, um, didn't really notice that I'm down to my last question. This
Oh,
is a closing challenge. This is a closing challenge. What belief about strength, womanhood, or healing did this journey change for you? And where can listeners connect with you and get uh, a copy of your book to go even deeper?
oof. Well, let me start first by saying, ooh, um, I once believed that strength meant never breaking.
Right.
But going through this journey, cancer literally taught me true strength,
Mm.
and that is allowing yourself to break and still rise. So, womanhood to me, um, it's not defined by what I went through, but by my resilience, my grace, and the courage to thrive, right?
Right.
And so that's what has kept me going. You know, Flowers of Courage. Whew, my journey through breast cancer from weakness to power. It can be. It's on Amazon. It's on Burns and Nobles.
Mm.
Um, Sleeperies. It's the platform. The Sleeperies has offered me that platform to get my book noticed through Amazon and Barnes, and I believe a lot of other channels as well.
Right.
And it's please, I want people to read it because, you know, the whole message behind Flowers of Courage is you're not alone. And for those who have read it, um, let's join this movement and standing for so many other men and women out there.
Juliet, it was a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, for sparing us your time to talk about the book that you have just published. It was truly an honor to have you in today's episode.
Um, I'm really happy. I looked forward to today. Believe it or not, I had to block everything. I have to be here. I look forward to it, and I thank you so much for this opportunity because sometimes it's one thing to write a book,
Mm,
it's another thing to do a podcast such as this. So there's a voice kind of connected to the reason why the book was written. And I thank you. I really deeply appreciate this moment. Thank you.
appreciate you so much, Juliet. So, Flowers of Courage, my journey through breast cancer from weakness to power is out now. You can grab a copy on Amazon, on xlibris.com, on Barnes& and Noble, and possibly in other outlets too online. Um, all right, so I just want to go ahead and also give a shout out to our awesome viewers and listeners for joining us for this interview. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations on the Author Roundup. I'm Ray Walters. Join me next time as we explore the world of supported self publishing, one indie author at a time.